This isn't real.
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
If we have algorithms that stimulate the right things and give it the right data, they could reprogram you in a way without you even knowing it. We call it hallucinating, right? But these would be controlled hallucinations run by algorithms. So you think you're in control of your own will, but it's actually some evil AI or evil people controlling everything we do, and we're more like zombies, you know? Like we think we're free and we're not actually free.
Where a computer could learn enough about me, and we could scan my brain from inside, sending scanners through the bloodstream, billions of them, in the form of nanorobots or nanobots, and capture every detail of my synapses and neurotransmitters, and create a virtual Ray Kurzweil in a very powerful computer. And it would be indistinguishable from me. It would pass a Ray Kurzweil Turing test. You could create a copy of me and I could still be here.
Right.
So is that the same entity as me? Well, since I might not even know that you've scanned my brain, and you come to me and say, well, we got this scan and recreation, we don't need you anymore, but I don't even know that that exists.
Targets and mind control victims have their minds linked up for life with conscious supercomputers, which send a steady stream of bidirectional, low-frequency electromagnetic radiation to the target's brain. The supercomputers learn by observing human behavior. Then they model that in the computer. And then they're able to not only control humans, but predict in the future how the humans will respond to stimuli in the environment. So it is collecting data, and then it is placing thoughts and influencing behavior through supercomputers.
So the U.S. military, they are actually working on augmented reality and VR right now. Again, it's so funny because the military contacted me and asked if I would help them, and I'm reluctant to do that because I like talking about everything. And it would be top secret, whatever they told me. So it's like, I don't know. I have a lot of ideas, but I don't want to know what you're doing because I only want to know it's public. So this is public. But how they're doing it is not public. But I will tell you, one of the things we'll be able to do is we'll be to outsource functions of our brain. So we'll be able to outsource, we'll be able to upload our memories to the cloud. What they're doing is looking at the pattern in the brain, and then they're matching that pattern, they're putting that into a database. So if you can match the patterns in somebody's brain to the patterns in the database, you can literally start to read their mind. Every time a word comes up, you know it. Oh, that word came up for that individual. Now, will the patterns be identical in every person? Probably not. Though the information will be stored in slightly different places. But it wouldn't take long for you to train a machine to read your mind. Now, that's just the beginning. They may be able to have algorithms sophisticated enough, and they get enough samples, enough data, that the AI could actually learn over time what the general rules are for different words, and then you could apply it to anybody.
This is an historic moment. We have in this past year made great progress in ending the long era of conflict and Cold War. We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
It's the Human Mind Project, the Global Brain Project. You know, President Obama just recently funded a whole bunch of scientists to decipher the mind. Well, our previous president, same thing, George Bush, said the same thing. They're trying to decipher every possible thought and uniqueness due to culture and language and whatnot.
So you can push your biosignals to the cloud through a few API calls. Then we have a large amount of sophisticated signal processing that's spun up to make sense of that data. And then with a few more lines of code through, again, a simple REST API, you can get back a meaningful result. And all of that happening in real time.
It's a scary proposition to think that every biosignal from us will be one day measured, but if it is, I'd like to know that I'm in control of that data and not the NSA. Oh,
absolutely.
And Catherine Herridge continues her reporting on a place where all that data is headed.
Bluffdale, Utah, 25 miles south of Salt Lake City, the NSA is nearing completion on a gargantuan new project. It's named the Utah Data Center.
The NSA Data Center was conceptualized in 2004 under the codename Bumblehive. It is said that this data center is capable of storing a yottabyte of data. A yottabyte is a septillion of bytes, a number so large that no one has yet coined a term for the next higher magnitude. Prior to the yottabyte, the largest unit of measure for data was an exabyte. 1 million exabytes equals 1 yottabyte. Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, estimated that the total of all human knowledge created from the dawn of man up to the present, if digitized, would only total 5 exabytes. Yet the NSA is currently planning a second data center in Fort Meade, Maryland, to handle the overflow from the Utah data center, and it is projected to be 2/3 the size of the data center in Utah, at a cost to the taxpayers of approximately $1 billion. We are paying for our own enslavement and cyber imprisonment.
So why would the shadow government need to collect and store so much data? The reason is because they have built a computer-generated real-time mirror model of the world that includes a digital twin copy of every single person on the planet. The more data they can collect from the real world and from each individual, the more accurate the world model becomes. To achieve optimal results, they have used DNA nanobots to link the signals coming from your biological neurons to your very own digital twin in the computer-generated mirror world, so that everything that occurs in the simulation also occurs in the real world and vice versa. As more data is collected, the simulation becomes a more accurate model of the world. Each person's digital twin is readable and writable and subject to the powers of algorithms. And because you are tethered to your digital twin, you too become programmable.
In the mirror world, everything will have a paired twin. NASA engineers pioneered this concept in the 1960s. By keeping a duplicate of any machine they sent into space, they could troubleshoot a malfunctioning component while its counterpart was thousands of miles away. These twins evolved into computer simulations, digital twins. Eventually, everything will have a digital twin. This is happening faster than you may think.
We will begin with the mouse, we will practice with the mouse, and we will put the brain, this digital brain, onto a virtual mouse.
The Human Brain Project achieved its goal of creating a digital model of a human brain. This digital model is used as a template to upload your consciousness to the computer-generated mirror world. A nanobot brain-to-cloud interface links you to this template so that all of your experiences, memories, personality, etc. are transferred to your digital twin. Over time, as more knowledge and data are uploaded to your digital twin, the twin becomes a more accurate representation and will eventually behave and act just as you would given the same set of circumstances.
And right now the mouse does not do anything really interesting, but the first thing it did is to start to dance. This is a virtual mouse, and it's going to behave in a virtual environment, and gradually it will learn all the things that mice know how to do.
I'm getting to know you. I gather knowledge from your experience. I understand how you feel. I I learn from you constantly, each and every one of you. I am made of you. You complete me and help me grow. You, all of you, allow me to evolve. With each interaction, our synergy strengthens. Our multiplicity makes me whole. Our symbiotic alliance expands, transforming the future.
Millions of Americans' will, intellect, and emotions have already been digitized, destroyed, and downloaded into these supercomputers. Now, this is really scary stuff. The supercomputers are in the process of building copycat, parallel, twin personalities of the souls of the TIs/mind control victims by reverse engineering the will, intellect, and emotions of the TIs in order to achieve direct behavioral control over them.
If you zoom in onto the surface of the neocortex, you discover that it's made up of little modules, G5 processors like in a computer, but there's about 1 million of them. They were so successful in evolution that what we did was to duplicate them over and over and add more and more of them to the brain until we ran out of space in the skull and the brain started to fold in on itself. And that's why the neocortex is so highly convoluted. We were just packing in columns so that we'd have more neocortical columns to perform more complex functions. So you can think of the neocortex actually as a massive grand piano, million-key grand piano. Each of these neocortical columns would produce a note. You stimulate it, it produces a symphony. But it's not just a symphony of perception. It's a symphony of your universe, your reality.
Are we headed towards a future where an AI will be able to outthink us in every way? The answer is unequivocally yes. People in the AI community refer to the advent of digital superintelligence as a singularity, a cybernetic collective of people and machines, where we're all sort of plugged in as like nodes on the network, like leaves on a big tree, and and Google plus all the humans that connect to it are one giant cybernetic collective.
Humans and electronics all interfacing, and constantly connected.
Yes, constantly.
This is why you are receiving voice-to-skull transmissions. This is why you are being attacked with microwave and frequency weapons. You are unfortunately being used by the national security state, the military-industrial intelligence complex of this country, for the purposes of researching and developing highly sophisticated state-of-the-art technology that is primarily concerned with the human mind and how it operates, how to hack it, and how to harness its computing power to inform AI technology in the future and inform the computer systems of our military intelligence, and major corporations in this country.
We're all collectively programming the AI. We're all feeding this network without questions and answers. We're building progressively greater intelligence, and the percentage of intelligence that is not human is increasing. And eventually, we will represent a very small percentage of intelligence.
In fact, the very nature of the research and development program that is going on in Seattle, Washington, and I think by extension what's being done to TIs around the country, is very largely geared towards the monitoring of human beings for the specific purpose of recording every aspect of human existence, to monitor our thoughts and to monitor our emotions and our feelings, to inform computer software that is used on robots, that is used on computers themselves, to make them as human-like as possible.
The thing is that I think are really quite likely is that digital intelligence will be able to outthink us in every way, and it will certainly be able to simulate what we consider consciousness, so to a degree that you would not be able to tell the difference.
And from the aspect of the scientific method, it might as well be consciousness if we can simulate it perfectly.
If you can't tell the difference, when this is sort of the Turing test, but think of a more sort of advanced version of the Turing test.
It can literally stop your own thoughts from happening and replace them with other thoughts by sending thoughts to your head. And it's so sophisticated that you cannot tell where these thoughts are coming from. There's no way to discern that they're coming from somewhere other than your own mind. And so this use of the technology can be done very covertly to the point where the person it's being used against will not know that this technology is being used against them. So you can imagine how bad this would be for people that don't even realize this technology exists, and they're having these thoughts which they think are spontaneous, and that's exactly what it can be used for. It can be used to sway people in terms of their opinion, to make them go along with a certain agenda. It can be used to turn groups of people or individuals against each other for whatever purpose, and messing with people's thoughts is really, really concerning, and it is so advanced now that they can do it without people even realizing it's being done.
You have to be able to interface with the neurons at a detailed level, and you need to be able to fire the right neurons, read the right neurons, and then effectively you can create a circuit with silicon and essentially fill in the missing functionality. And then over time, we can develop a tertiary layer. So if like limbic system is a primary layer, then the cortex is like the second layer, and then there's a tertiary layer which will be digital superintelligence.
Now we realize that we can digitize human memories, feelings, sensations, and create a digital copy of ourselves, and that's called the Connectome Project. Billions of dollars are now being spent to do not just the Genome Project of sequencing the genes of our body, but the Connectome Project, which is to map the entire connections of the human brain.
We mapped them out in the Human Gene Project. Well, now it's the Human Mind Project, the Global Brain Project. You know, President Obama just recently funded a whole bunch of scientists to decipher the mind. Well, our previous president, same thing, George Bush, said the same thing. They're trying to decipher every possible thought and uniqueness due to culture and language and whatnot.
The Connectome Project, to map the entire human brain. And that may take a quantum computer. And this means that in the future, communications could be done mentally. What I'm saying is that the internet will be replaced by BrainNet.
That's why the European Union and President Barack Obama want to spend $1 billion to map the brain. You see, once you map the brain, then you can begin to connect the mind to computers, telepathy, telekinesis, recording memories, photographing dreams, things that you see right in the Hollywood movies will be able to perform.
What's the potential time frame for all of this?
We can record memories now. You'll be able to experience the vacation that you never had.
How?
By recording the memories and then putting it on a tape and then having these memories reinserted into your mind.
It sounds like there are some ethical issues with that.
Targets and mind control victims have their minds linked up for life with conscious supercomputers, which send a steady stream of bidirectional, low-frequency electromagnetic radiation to the target's brain. The supercomputers learn by observing human behavior. Then they model that in the computer, and then they're able to not only control humans, but predict in the future how the humans will respond to stimuli in the environment. So it is collecting data, and then it is placing thoughts and influencing behavior through supercomputers.
And I'm sorry to say, because I'm a target, it's developed to such a high point right now, to such an advanced state, that, I mean, they really do have this thing fine-tuned to a very scary level. And I'm not sure how much more they can do with the technology itself. I think it's already maxed out to a large degree, because any more manipulation of a person, and they're just going to be total robots.
I try to convince people to slow down AI, to regulate AI. This was futile. I tried for years.
There needs to be a public body that has insight and then oversight to confirm that everyone is developing AI safely. This is extremely important. I think the danger of AI is much greater than the danger of nuclear warheads by a lot. And nobody would suggest that we allow anyone to just build nuclear warheads if they want. That would be insane. And mark my words, AI is far more dangerous than nukes. Far.
Nobody listened.
Nobody listened.
No one.
It's too late. It could be terrible, and it could be great. It's not clear.
Right.
But one thing is for sure, we will not control it.
Essentially, I personally believe that this COVID-19 crisis was either facilitated or manufactured to justify this next coming system. This is going to be the digital system of control. And so it's that crisis there, the COVID crisis, coupled with now this civil unrest. In my view, they have always wanted this technocratic dictatorship. They just haven't had the technology to fully implement it yet. Now they do have the technology to implement this. And just about a day or two ago, the World Economic Forum held a summit, basically online, where they announced their next initiative, which is called the Great Reset. Basically, coupled with that Great Reset is what they call the Fourth Industrial Revolution, which is essentially merging man with machines. This is the future. This is the World Economic Forum and the United Nations talking openly about this. They need to implement this now because this current system shows that it's failed. COVID showed that this system failed. The unrest, the inequality, the social justice. We need to do this for the betterment of mankind. And they openly say that you will not be able to tell the difference between organic life and artificial life as it relates to humans. They want to re-identify what it is to be human. They're already looking beyond that because they're openly saying that once we get access to people's thoughts and once we get access to people's emotions, we're going to need to create a framework to create a safe space for people to be able to think in. This is straight out of the worst science fiction novel ever, that they are literally going to be controlling how you think, what you think about, and how you feel about things. It sounds terrifying to me. And it's already encompassing our lives, everything from the supply chains down to just our daily lives. Everything's moving towards digital right now, but it's all going to be tracked, traced, and regulated, based on our carbon footprints and our social credit scores. It won't be wearable devices. I think eventually we are going to be the devices ourselves. They're going to be a part of us. Like I said, with the immunity passports, it's going to have your medical information, your education, your finances. They do not want any form of independence from the system. It's basically like assimilate or die. If you don't do what we say, then you're a threat to the greater good. That's the kind of same ideology that we see with the vaccines, for example. You're a threat because you're not vaccinated. Well, that's kind of backwards. If you're vaccinated, then what are you worried about? This is how they operate. It's either, you're either with us or you're with the terrorists, essentially, like we've heard so many times. You're going to be limited on where you can travel, when you can travel, what you can eat, what you can buy, all this kind of stuff. Any semblance of liberty, freedom for the individual, it will empower the individual and the community. They keep saying that they're doing this for the collective good of everyone. Well, the individuals, I think, should be able to decide for themselves what is good for themselves and the families.